Yeah, I think it's weird. I don't think anybody really knows what it is. It's a big, bad, scary term, I think. Hereditary pancreatitis sounds scary, and it is scary. Hi, I'm Lauren Miner. I'm from Alberta, Canada. Yeah, anything else you want to know? So I'm 20 years old. I go to university, so I'm a university student and I'm studying English. So reading and writing here in Canada. I write a lot of essays and stuff. I'm also a swimming instructor, swimming coach. So I teach competitive swimming, but I grew up with hereditary pancreatitis, which is always a fun time.
Ça, c'est le pancréas, un organe vital de l'organisme. Il est essentiel à la digestion des aliments et à la régulation de la glycémie. Il est localisé au niveau de l'abdomen. Il est souvent présenté avec 3 parties, la tête, le corps et la queue. Il possède également 2 canaux, le canal de Wirsung, qui traverse tout l'organe, et le canal de Santorini, ce canal secondaire permettant de drainer une partie de la tête. Le pancréas joue 2 rôles. L'élaboration du suc pancréatique, pour rendre les composants alimentaires assimilables par la muqueuse digestive, c'est sa fonction exocrine. Son deuxième rôle est la production de l'insuline, hormone réglant le taux des glucides dans le sang. Ces sécrétions vont directement dans le sang, c'est sa fonction endocrine.
I started showing symptoms of pancreatitis when I was about 2, and I was diagnosed with hereditary pancreatitis when I was 5. So it took a while for the diagnosis, and then I was quote-unquote cured when I had my total pancreatectomy and islet cell transplant in Edmonton, Alberta in 2012. February of 2012. So I was only 11 at the time.
I met Lauren, I think, over 10 years ago now, I think, by our mothers. And we met through social media. We didn't talk a lot at the time, beginning, because we were so young. But I remember when I met her, it was quite special for me, knowing that I had someone that could actually understand me, understand what I was going through. And the day she got surgery was a beacon of hope for me. You know, oh, she got surgery. Maybe one day I could get something. I think we took 7 years to meet physically. We met in the summer, physically for the first time in the summer of 2017 when she came to France. And I remember the first time when I saw her physically, I was like looking at her. It felt so weird looking at her. I thought, geez, she's actually physically here, which is quite special, you know, to have a connection with somebody that lives 5,000 kilometers away.
When she first started having problems, we really didn't know anything about pancreatitis, so I had heard it mentioned as a possibility probably about a year before she was finally diagnosed, but at that point the doctor had said, don't worry about that, it's not likely anything that she will have, that a child this young wouldn't have it. The best research that I found was through Facebook and other social media, where I was able to connect with other parents who had children going through the same things, and they had found experts and been able to share that. So that was really my research strategy at the time, was connecting with other families. And for me at the time, I think what I heard when the geneticist confirmed that it was pancreatitis, and that it was the hereditary type and what gene mutation she had, I remember the first thing I asked him was, okay, what do we do? How do we help? And he said, you can't. You just keep her as comfortable as possible. You take her to Disneyland and help her enjoy life. And I did not accept that well. I don't remember getting angry with the doctor, but I do remember feeling angry and thinking, there's no way that as a parent that you hear that at 6 years old that your child's quality of life is never going to be there, or that her length of life is going to be short.
I think it's hard because I was so young. I don't think I really realized how it affected everyone around me until now. And I think when I was so young, I didn't realize how hard it was. Like, I didn't think that this isn't something everybody else deals with. That childlike innocence, I didn't realize that it's something that everybody else deals with, but, or it's something that not everybody else deals with, per se. I think it was hard on my parents. Obviously, no parent wants to have a sick child, in and out of hospital all the time as a kid. That's hard, right? And they don't want that for their kid, and I didn't want that.
I believe when Lauren was young, well, even now, probably one of the greatest challenges as parents is trying to help her keep a normal life and experience everything that every child should experience, knowing that pancreatitis gives her a lot of limitations. And yeah, there were so many things that weren't easy for her to do, weren't necessarily recommended for her to do, or else the sickness took so much time from her life that it really robbed her of lots of experiences and opportunities that she should have been having as a child. So I found that when she got through those lows, it was really important that we as a family found time to help her enjoy the days that she was doing well and just give her all the experiences that a normal child should have.
But it's also, everybody knows what cancer is. Everybody knows what the big major diseases are, heart failure, stuff like that. Everybody knows what cancer is, but I don't think they realize that diseases like pancreatitis, as a kid, I looked like I was fine most of the time, but I wasn't, and it's invisible, and people don't realize how life-destroying, destructive it can be, you know?
The thing with pancreatitis, it's such a rare disease, you have to recognise. Even a large amount of people don't even know what is the point of the pancreas, and most of the time you have to tell people you've got health problems. Generally speaking, they ask you what's your health problem and say to them pancreatitis. Most of the people look at you like, what was that? What's pancreatitis? And I'm like, it's a pancreas problem. People go like, what is the point of the pancreas? Most of the people can't look at you sometimes like you're an alien when you say to them, oh, I've got pancreatitis. You can't talk about, you haven't got a common disease like certain disease when you just, well, I've got that, and people will go like, oh yeah, which makes it very hard sometimes to live with it because people don't really understand what is the point about it.
And I find that over the years there's been a little bit more understanding about it, but because it is so rare, it's quite amazing to me that Lauren was diagnosed with the disease over 10 years ago, and yet she still comes up against people who don't understand it. You know, they think a pancreatitis attack, well, that's probably like a kidney stone or a gallbladder attack or something a little less life-threatening, because it is rare and just people don't understand. So they assume that she has a mild illness that gives her some ups and downs, and that it is extremely painful for people who actually are interested in knowing, especially doctors that are trying to understand why she struggles still with her mental health now and some of those pieces, explaining that the type of pain that people with pancreatitis go through is not a minor pain at all. It's been known to be compared to childbirth or worse.
La pancréatite chronique héréditaire, aussi appelée PCH, de même que la pancréatite chronique de l'adulte, PC, se caractérise par une destruction progressive du parenchyme pancréatique associée à une inflammation continue. Toutefois, elle s'en distingue en touchant plusieurs générations ou au moins 3 membres d'une même famille et en se manifestant souvent dès l'enfance, avant 5 ans, par des douleurs au ventre. Les poussées peuvent être extrêmement douloureuses. Elles peuvent nécessiter un recours à la chirurgie et le maintien d'un régime approprié. Par la suite, plusieurs mutations géniques ont été reconnues et ont permis de proposer une hypothèse expliquant la maladie. L'enzyme produit, résistant à la dégradation, détruit progressivement le pancréas.
Sad. The soul is hurt, hiding behind the holes in her shirt. Sometimes the pain leaves burns, mood swings take turns. shaking and crying, wondering and whying. How could this happen when I keep trying? Am I dying? Tears flood her eyes, as if she has unraveled all of the ties. I don't want the body used just to collect flies. It's just hard sometimes. Worrying unconditionally might never go away. Sadness in my soul looks like she's here to stay. Making peace with the weight seems to be the only way to play. Good days are coming. They will, because I say. Good days will find me as I keep working, trying not to fray.
My depression, according to my doctors, we're still working on it, but has developed into a type of bipolar disorder, so bipolar 2 disorder, which means I'm mostly in low depressive states, and then I get hypomania episodes where I get a lot of energy, but I'm mostly in these low depressive states. So it's really similar to just treatment-resistant depression. And then my doctors really believe that this has started because of the trauma that my illness caused as a child. So they're relating it to post-traumatic stress disorder and relating it to the trauma that I experienced as a child, being sick all the time and having a life-altering surgery, you know? Like, not every kid is told that they're not going to live to see their 20s, right? So I think it's difficult, and yes, I struggle with mental illness. It's been an ongoing battle. I've tried so many medications, and I'm still trying to find the ones that work for me. And I've been doing constant therapy and work with counselors and group therapy and group counseling, and I'm really lucky to have such a great support system around me of people. But it's hard. It's really, really hard. And again, it's something that everybody else can't really see, and it's not talked about.
Overall, she's always inspired me and always helped me stay up. The fact that I was always been thinking, Lauren's been through a lot more, a lot worse than me. Be strong, be brave. She's seen worse and she's still here, so.
Well, it really goes back to, even though she's been diagnosed with many different forms of depression and mental illness, those are, I feel, diagnoses based on her current symptoms of how she's doing, and it really goes back to the initial diagnosis of complex post-traumatic stress disorder, where it all changed for Lauren. Well, it was already starting to change when she was young, and she was dealing with not being like other children and in and out of hospital and having chronic pain like that. It changes your brain and it changes your chemical makeup.
Yeah, it's hard. It is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. I'm not gonna make anything sound better than it is. I struggle with a lot of motivation in school, focus. I've been really, really lucky to have such great support people around me. My parents are super, super supportive and amazing, and so is my brother. Everybody around me, really. All my friends. I'm working on finding the little happy bits in every day and working on doing things I love, like traveling and working with kids and telling stories and reading and writing and stuff like that. So
I think one of the really important things is not trying to pretend that we understand, but always being open to hearing about it and trying to understand. So we really, really keep the communication lines open, and we've been very fortunate that we have a strong relationship, and Lauren is comfortable telling us that she's having a bad day. Communication is definitely the biggest one, and not having any judgment, not expecting that we can step in and fix things, because we know this. Lauren is an adult, and she's a very capable adult who can make great decisions when she has the capacity to do so. So it's just being there for her as she gets through those.
Une personne atteinte de la pancréatite doit donc avoir une bonne hygiène de vie. Pas d'alcool ni de tabac, qui affaiblissent l'organe et peuvent être à l'origine de poussées douloureuses, voire de cancer, et pas de régime trop gras. En cas de crise, un traitement à l'hôpital est parfois inévitable. Le traitement chirurgical est possible, avec une intervention de dérivation, qui va consister en une dérivation chirurgicale du canal du Wirsung dans l'intestin grêle, ou avec une chirurgie de résection ou pancréatectomie, qui correspond à l'ablation totale du pancréas.
Before that surgery, I hadn't really had a bunch of surgeries. Nothing really worked. I had done scopes and things, but I'd never actually had like a big surgery before. And then when I did have my big surgery, I had a lot of complications. It was a big deal. It was, I think, around 12 hours, altogether. It was a really long surgery, so they took out my pancreas, spleen, gallbladder, and duodenum. And so a whole bunch of things, and I have a scar from about here to here on my stomach, and yeah, they took out all those things, and they harvested my islet cells, so took the cells that produce insulin, and they put them in my liver, so I'm actually not diabetic, which is really nice, and I don't have a pancreas at all. I've been living really healthy since. I was in the hospital in ICU for about 5 weeks after the surgery. I did have a lot of complications afterwards. I had some fluid buildup on top of my lungs. I had some infections. I had multiple surgeries after to try and drain fluid on top of my lungs and in my abdomen, and my body just wasn't reacting right. But it all settled down and worked out well in the end.
Invisible diseases are such a huge challenge in our society in general. It's interesting because I feel as though Lauren spent years trying to get people to understand that she was suffering with her pancreatitis, whether it be teachers or friends or even doctors that we would see in an emergency room. And yet she says the fight to get people to understand mental illness is another challenge altogether, because there isn't a blood test there that will prove that there's a problem, or there isn't lab work of some kind that confirms a genetic abnormality. So I see that there is a range of challenges within that invisible illnesses, but I think the most important thing is talking about it. We have to be open. Something that our family has really worked to do is overcome the stigmas, overcome the feelings of what if people judge and think that some of these things that we've been the cause of, or it's normal, and we all need to be talking about it more, so we bring those invisible illnesses to light and people recognize that they're there, because they just stay invisible if we don't talk about them.
Invisible diseases are such a common, well, really is a common subject these days, but they're still looked upon like bad things when it's about depression. Depression's still badly seen. Invisible diseases are a real challenge that people need to start going up to, accepting that sometimes it's not because it can't see it that it doesn't exist, and you need to be more comprehensible and helpful towards those that need to be helped.
I don't know what the future holds. I don't like limiting myself to a box of what it holds. I feel like every day I'm just rolling the dice and going with it, but I hope it involves a lot of adventure. I want to travel anywhere and everywhere. I mean, obviously the dream would be to park myself on an island and surf all day and write all night, and that would be amazing. I'd love to be a writer. I'm published in my university magazine, I think 3 or 4 times. I'm a published author in there. And right now I am a storyteller for the public library here. And so maybe I'll end up in education. Maybe I'll end up as a writer. I'm currently working on a short story for kids. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna end up doing. But I really hope it ends up in a lot of adventure and a lot of fun, because I think if invisible illness has taught me anything, it's that you're not promised tomorrow, and you're not promised anything. So seize the day, go for it, and do what makes you happy, because there's really no time for anything else.
You look good. You look healthy, she said. I didn't know what to say. Maybe if you could see the bruises I feel, if they were blue and purple and green, if the burnt skin blistered and fell off, or burned your skin too, if the tremors were more violent, if my muscles screamed louder, and you could hear the creaking of my joints or the pounding inside my head, if the shooting pains were little sparks of light, and the aching was a red glow, if you could see the fog swirling around my brain and hear the cells in my hippocampus dying, starving for serotonin, if you took my hand or touched my shoulder and could feel how very heavy that leaden weight, if the sadness made me waste away, disappear, if the fatigue swallowed me and I never woke up, maybe then you would believe me. Wouldn't you?
It doesn't look like it's gonna get better, and I'm not gonna tell you that it gets better, because I don't know if I believe that myself. But you can't quit, and you can't stop working, and just because you are set back in a certain way, if that's a physical illness, if that's a mental illness, it doesn't mean that you're lesser. It doesn't mean that you can't do things. And you don't have to try and keep up to everyone else. And I think that's something I personally forget a lot. And I try and keep up to everybody else, and I burn myself out, and I just end up getting more sick. But you don't have to keep up with everyone else. Just do you. Enjoy the day. Live for adventure. But take care of yourself first. And you may not be the representation that you want to see. No one can see what you have. With pancreatitis, no one saw. I was just the weird diseased kid. As in elementary school, people used to call me the diseased kid. It was weird. But I think just don't stop fighting. I know I never thought that there would be a cure for me, and now I'm 20 years old and a walking, talking miracle. And I still have my battles with mental illness, and that's okay. And I know that I can overcome it. And even if I don't, there is reason to live through it.